Hello, my name is Hans Driscoll. I'm a Revere Jewelry Academy graduate from 1999. I studied under Alan Revere himself. It was awesome. It was in the Phalon building in San Francisco, and here's one of his rings dedicated to Peru. Rhonda Coriel was one of the instructors. There's some of her award-winning jewelry. Her jewelry is timeless from a different dimension. I'm also a JA certified professional, bench technician. All right. I found the brass tip, torch tip, Coleman, I think it is. Mag torch. And I'm going to screw it on here. But first, I wanted to say, while I'm doing this, that casting is a rush. Casting is awesome. I love casting. I didn't mean to it's mechanical, but it's incredibly technical. It all comes down to time, temperature, how long you hold the temperature, so time for the temperature, and you're running this huge torch, and you're casting ounces at a time, if you want to go there. My last job, we were casting 4 ounces of 18 karat yellow at a time in one flask. Next flask, 4 ounces of 18 karat rose gold. And casting, you don't just cast the amount of metal that's there. There's all the sprue that feeds the metal to the object. In this case, these beautiful wood finished bracelets with these beautiful pearls on the end, and with this spring mechanism inside of it that we had to assemble and cast for and stuff. And it was a rush, and it has this huge button on the end that's like an ounce, just an ounce you need or more just to push the metal into it. So yeah, you get to remelt that and stuff, but the overhead, whoa, it's unreal just to get it going. All right, so we got our ring. The rubbing alcohol evaporated. See this nice coat? See this nice coat? See how it's all white and powdery? Sorry about that light. Maybe I can fix that. All right. So see that powdery coat? All right, that's what you want. All right, so we got our torch. Fire it up, turn this on. You got our old lighter. It's a little hot. So you got it, see it? Real little there. It's kind of like the size of a lighter. If this was, had some fuel left. Now that is not gonna do it. You need to go a little bigger. So we got our solder lined up, our tiny little cubes. And now we need to put on our flux, because the solder, this oxide coat, will not allow the solder to flow. So you need this flux. And you get your old paintbrush here, and the solder seam, you want to kind of paint away the boric acid and get this fluid in there and have it flow through the seam. All right, looks good. So this one, okay, so the heat, so the solder follows the heat. So I'll show you how that works. So we're going to do this like this. Put the solder on the top. Put the heat from below. The solder will flow through, following the heat to the bottom, completing the job. Now, some solder jobs, you want the exact amount. All right, maybe I'll turn this light off. So can you see that? All right, so some solder jobs, you want the exact amount, but this is just kind of want a little big piece. All right, see that stuff burns off real fast. And then the flux is there. So the boric acid makes this like chemical glass cover that covers the ring, covers the object. All right, so those tweezers are taking up too much heat. See how I'm put them on like that? Touching too much metal. That would take too much heat. So there we go. Barely touching it. Even that is going to take a lot of heat, but I'm standing it up to show you guys how it flows. Oh, we got a little ant. All right. All right. So we got our torch going. And you'll figure out, what's the right size after it doesn't melt or it melts too fast. So here we got our little cube of solder. So you're going to either want to ball it up or just put it on there. Here, let's just put it on there. So we're heating this up, and this glass stuff gets sticky. So you can put it on there, and it'll stick to it right to its side like that. So the charcoal reduces the oxide in the environment. The charcoal is critical. You want charcoal, not one of those soldering bricks. All right, see it turning red, and this already shrinking up, the solder already shrinking. That means it's getting close. And see, I'm going from the top, but I'm just getting it to get going, and then I'll flip it over and pull it through. So we got it going, and it's onto this side a little. So when it flows, I'm going to push it with these tweezers right over. See it getting red? It's getting hot. Okay, see, I pushed it over. Okay, now it's a little lumpy on there. I'm just going to hold it like this so you can see. I'll pull it through right there. Actually going to add a little more solder. Accidentally turned it up. And I just kind of randomly turned it on to this exact perfect. It's about 1 inch off of there. Okay, and when you solder, the heat delivery is at the end of this tip right here, the main fire, not this like big part, and not right here. The heat is here. So that's where you want the distance. And you always want to hold that distance. That's the right distance. All right, so now we got plenty of solder, 2 chips for a ring. That should be good. Warm up the tweezers. All right, ball it, turn into a little ball. Okay, now it's flowing. All right. See it flowed nice and smooth on there? And see how it's on just one side and not on the other side? Flip it over, and now we're going to pull the solder through like I was telling you. So now we're going to hit it like this and pull it over from this side. We can do it like this. Okay, silver is very conductive, and gold too. So you don't just hold the torch in one spot. You heat the whole object. And it's okay. you can kind of get away with it with these rings like this little thin piece of metal. Okay, I'm going to turn this up. You can get away with it. Sorry, I got to focus on this. Okay, it flowed through. It went glassy, or it went shiny, molten. You can see the solder pulled through the bottom. You can see that there's a tiny part of the solder seam that there's just this tiny, tiny little 1 millimeter gap left. And that's cool because it rarely flows fully the first time. So now it's going to heat up really fast because we're on this heat reflection, and it's reducing the oxide. So I can see that it went molten, and you can push it, kind of push the liquid metal around with the tweezers or the solder pick and get it to go there, hold the heat, and it'll flow in there. So now it's flowed. You can see that there's the solder, 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 nice flow, smooth, just molten. If it was all just this kind of lump on there, that would mean that it did not flow through. And when you go to make this ring round, it will just snap off. So, a lesson in annealing. So, to soften metal, which is very important metallurgy, metal smithing, you heat it up and quench it. To harden it, you heat it up, glowing red, and then let it slow cool. You like cover it with another piece of charcoal and just let it cool for whatever, 15 minutes, whatever. And the metal will become hard. So right now, as I'm talking to you, this will become harder than if I just quenched it right off the bat. So we got our Sparex pickle that it's been sitting on the wood stove very carefully. And so it's nice and warm. So I'm going to heat this up, or it's probably already still hot, and it's soft enough. So it's going to, it didn't really go nuts. So that will take a couple minutes. All right, so the ring has been in the Sparex acid for about 8 minutes. The jewelry term for the acid is called the pickle. The ring is in the pickle. So the ring has been in here for not long enough. It's got spotty that's coming off by the minute, and there's just a tiny little bit of pink tinge that's coming off by the second. And so it just needs to go a little bit longer. There's only one rule with the pickle. Never put any metal in there besides copper. That's the only rule, and don't get it on your skin. And this stuff, see what it's doing to the copper there? It's dissolving it just a little bit, and just the surface layer, not like dissolving it. And so if you ever put like even just a tiny piece of steel wire or some tiny piece of your tool just somehow makes it in there, it will ruin the jewelry that you put in there. And you'll have to throw it in the, you'll have to remix a fresh batch. So that's the only rule with that. Use copper tongs or just a little copper wire. That needs some more time. So I wanted to finish talking about annealing and the quenching, the rapid quench after it's been heated up, because there was part of it that I left out. You have to hold the temperature. You have to hold it at a glowing red state for a couple seconds. All right, so hypothetically, let's say we just got this out of the rolling mill and just made this wire ourselves, and it's absolutely unbendable. Like, okay, we're going to test it. Like, go like this. All right, had that much tension. So let's say that we couldn't even do that. So you would need to anneal it. You would need to heat it up to a glowing state and then rapid quench it in the water just a few seconds after you pull the torch. So I'm going to turn the lights off so you can see what's going down. So I did the boric acid coat. You don't have to wait for it to dry. It's rubbing alcohol. It'll burn off. All right, we got our water. We got our metal that we're going to anneal. We're going to do this, and we're going to do this. We got our water. And is that too much? Here, let's see. Let's just try it. So you're going to want to, this is a long, you're going to want to brush the metal with the torch back and forth so that the heat is even. You want to heat you want it to be even heated, because if you just torch one side or the other, you might melt it. Can you see it glowing? All right, never mind. Okay, back to this. All right, so heat it up. You can see it's glowing. Still going to heat it a little bit longer. Not going to melt it. Just heating it, heating it, heating it. Let it sit there. Dunk it. You can hear it do its little whoosh, rapid quench. That rapid quench, that made the crystals inside the metal, the atoms, the crystal structure, the atomic structure inside that ring vibrate and loosen up all quick. First, it heated it up, so it got everything all nice and loose from being heated, and then you rapid quench it, and it keeps it in that state. So this is not the pickle. This is just water, so I'm just going to use these. All right, so this still needs to soak in there, but and you can see where the oxide layer that needs to be off of there comes out of there funky looking. Funky. But that's what you want. You wanted it to protect the oxide. So now we just did this. That's about the same. But it's a little softer. But that's basically it. Annealing. And if this just came out of a rolling mill and you held it in a glowing state and rapid quenched it, it would be dramatically softer. And then you move it, and then it gets hard again. Say it's like rose gold, 14 karat rose gold, and you're like, don't want it to get all funky out of shape, then you would heat it up, quench it, and so you could bend it more. But silver's soft. Silver's very, very, very soft. Okay, so what we got. Okay, so this ring is looking good. So we got that oxide. It's kind of like a white looking, kind of like it's almost like dusty. Not dusty, but not polished is what you could describe it. But that stuff just comes right off, literally with my fingers, because the pickle did its job. All right, next step. We got solder on the inside of this ring that's really nice. Nice and flowed. Nice little little mountains there, little bumps. So you need to get that out of there. We will use a file. You can use anything. Once again, if you were in a jewelry school or something, they would say, that's not how you file. But see, I can hold the angle and I'm guiding it with my fingernails and my skin right there, so that it doesn't go back and forth. I'm guiding it with my fingernails right here so it doesn't go like, so that I'm just getting off that solder. So what you're doing at this point is you're just getting that bump of solder off. You're not going below it at all. You don't want to go below the surface level of the inside of this ring. You stop before you go too far. And you take it at the next level, you go to sanding. And the same with the top. All right, so got our ring, got our mallet. Now when you're rounding out a ring, you hold it and you hammer on it and you pull down at the same time so it's not just flopping around. And this would go like that. I've never had a wooden mandrel. These things are kind of, I wouldn't suggest them. But the mallet from the old chair, this thing is awesome. I suggest the mallet. All right, so this didn't turn out anywhere close on this mandrel with that size. I suspected this mandrel was just... So, typical professional bench has a hole right here. Slide this